So here there is a query from a regular yoga practitioner who had been joining our sessions, specifically about the practice of Yoga Nidra. The person has actually read Patanjali's Yoga Sutra and Bhagavad Gita, and I completely agree that there is no direct reference to Yoga Nidra in these texts, and therefore he has asked, which are the classical texts that support Yoga Nidra concept, and then can the deep samskaras be removed by the practice of Yoga Nidra? This is a very specific question. And any scientific literature that is there, and which are the yoga texts that provide these concepts? I think it is a very good question as a viva for our MSc students also. So I request students one by one to please share their views.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, yes.
Morning, everyone.
Yes.
Sir, what I have read about that this concept of Yoga Nidra, it was kind of reintroduced to us by Swami Satyananda Saraswati from Bihar School of Yoga. And according to him, this technique was, he took the technique from a tantric technique called Nasya. And it is a kind of similar technique, but he slowly developed the Yoga Nidra technique, and he has written a book called Yoga Nidra. In that book, he has mentioned that yes, Yoga Nidra is very important for removing sanskaras, because according to him, when we do Yoga Nidra, we go into the subconscious part of our mind. So slowly in Yoga Nidra, there are 7 steps. And through these steps, there is one step called Sankalpa. In the step of Sankalpa, we try to put some positive resolve in their mind when they are in a sublime state, when they are not purely active. And that is a very unique state where we can put anything, any specific words or sentence. When we put in that state, our mind become very much receptive, and it completely grasp it, and it reflect in our daily life. So in our practice also, when we say, I am not the body, I am not the mind, and we say that this is not you, this suffering is not you, you are Satchit Ananda Swarupa. So these are very important factors to bring our potentiality. And also during Yoga Nidra, sometimes we see that people get lost into dreams and thoughts. These are not anything other than our pure samskaras that are there in our mind but not coming out. During Yoga Nidra, it slowly comes out into different stages. So it's very much helpful for removing sanskaras.
So Saurindra, has very beautifully answered from where this concept comes. Any classical text, Saurindra, where this is mentioned, Yoga Nidra?
Sir, actually, I may remember, I'm not able to remember. In that book, it is mentioned by Satyananda Saraswati from my mistaken.
Okay. And according to Saurindra, samskaras can be removed by the practice of Yoga Nidra.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Gandhi sir, please. Yes.
Each part, when we take a deep breath, and when you contract each muscle and relax, at that when you contract it and relax, the body pushes at that part, the body pushes the blood out and brings back the fresh blood to that area. That's what I used to feel when we are contracting the feet or hand or face or whatever the thing. So that first part itself, the body is relaxed wherever the small muscles, wherever the even facial muscles are all relaxed. So relaxation is most important part of the body, and also circulation improves there. That at the end of the Yoga Nidra, there is a Sankalpa is there, as earlier others also told, is the most important part is the Sankalpa. The Sankalpa, see, when whatever in the subconscious mind you think, so that's what in the beginning itself, the Sankalpa has to be imbibed a very positive thing. For example, God realization, self-realization, or whatever the thing you want to achieve, success, That should be a good one, and it is a short praise. Of that subconscious mind is very much obedient and relaxed. You'll be going deep into subconscious mind and take your sankalpa, and sankalpa will not never fail in your life. Whatever, anything can fail, but sankalpa will not fail. When you say in the subconscious mind, it will be fulfilled and it will be taken. And most important is the body mind is relaxed in this one.
Thank you. Thank you, Gandhi sir. Very comprehensive ideas related to Yoga Nidra practice. And I completely, agree with Gandhi sir's idea that Yoga Nidra actually focuses on intense relaxation, but with intense awareness. And that is why this particular practice, people say that can take care of your sleep as well if you are sufficiently able to go in depth. Anybody else, you have been practicing with us for a long time. Anybody would like to share their experience with Yoga Nidra practice, or there any feedback? Please.
Good morning, sir. This is Surya. So, sir,
Yes,
what I have experienced, I don't know about the scientific theory or the
yes.
texts and all that, but I can share my personal experience. When we practice Yoga Nidra, really my body feels very relaxed, and sometimes unconsciously I know your voice is talking or the tutor's voice is talking, but I fall into a light sleep, like like when I'm snoring lightly, and I know that after these 5 minutes, 6 minutes, we have to get up. I can hear that you say, move on your right side, get up, close, but I just let that voice fall, and then I do get up, not when the session ends, but maybe a little 5 minutes later. So, because I don't want to get out of that relaxed state. But it doesn't mean that I sleep the whole day. But I feel sometimes those essential 2-3 minutes are vital for me to really refresh my mind. And maybe, I don't know, it's not that I'm suffering from insomnia or anything, but this doesn't happen every day. It happens just on some days. So yes, it relaxes my muscles and my body, and it keeps me in a very calm mood. So especially when I know at work, if some situations are going to happen and I know I have to be very alert and not get tensed or something, then on those days, like say before a training session, then this session helps me a lot. This is my personal experience that I'm sharing. So I don't know whether we have to get up at the time when the instructor says, but to be honest, some days I don't get up, but eventually I do.
Yes, that's completely fine, Surya. That is actually a marker that the practice has been quite relaxing, and definitely you should take your own time. Mm, Yes, wonderful. Anybody else? Sanjeev sir? Priti ji?
नमस्कार सर।
हाँ, संजीव सर and then Priti ji, please, yes.
ये योग निद्रा के संबंध में जैसे सौरेंद्र ने बताया, इस तत्काल समय में सत्यानंद जी ने ही लिखा था, ज्यादा डिटेल में बातें की थी, और मैंने खुद भी जाना था उन्हीं के थ्रू, और अभी आज के डेट में बहुत अच्छी प्रैक्टिस करवा रही हैं, ये माँ आनंद मूर्ति हैं, वो करवा रही हैं। लेकिन जहाँ तक मुझे दिमाग में आ रहा है, इसकी सबसे पहले चर्चा की गई है विज्ञान भैरव तंत्र में। विज्ञान भैरव तंत्र में उन्होंने जो कहा है, उसके सांसों को देखते हुए शुरू करते हैं सबसे आसान वाले प्रोसेस से, जैसे विपස්සना में करते हैं, और फिर उसके 108 असल में प्रक्रियाएं हैं अलग अलग ध्यान की, उसमें से एक योग निद्रा को भी कहा गया है। और मैं दूसरी चीज जो याद कर पा रहा हूँ, ये आदि गुरु शंकराचार्य कहा करते थे माया के संबंध में, तो उनका कहना था कि हम जिंदगी को जैसे देखते हैं, स्वप्न वाली जो बात उन्होंने कही थी कि जैसे हम जिंदगी को देखते हैं, अगर आप उसे कंपेयर करेंगे निद्रा से जाकर, तो आप ये समझ पाएंगे कि जो अभी आपकी जिंदगी चल रही है ये भी स्वप्नवत हो सकती है। इसकी मैं एक कहानी बताना चाहूंगा कि ये क्वांगजुत्सु करके, या कोई मैं नाम शायद मिस कर रहा हूँगा, जापान के हुए हैं, वो जैन संत हुए हैं। उन्होंने एक कहानी अपनी बताई अपने शिष्यों को कि वो एक बार नींद में, अच्छी नींद में थे, तो उन्होंने देखा कि वो तितली बन गए हैं और फूलों पे मंडरा रहे हैं। खूब मजा लिया ऐसा वाला, और जब नींद टूटी तो उन्होंने एक्चुअली वो बहुत दुखी हो गए, बहुत दुखी हो गए। तो उनके गुरु ने पूछा क्या हुआ, तो उन्होंने बताया कि ऐसा ऐसा मैंने स्वप्न देखा, वो तो बहुत अच्छा था, लेकिन अब की हालत ये है कि मैं दुखी इसलिए हो रहा हूँ कि मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि वो जो तितली थी वो असल में अब अपने स्वप्न में है। यानी जो रियल लाइफ है उनकी, जो अभी हम लोग देख रहे हैं, वो उसे कह रहे हैं कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि वो तितली अच्छा खासा उधर घूम रही थी, बड़ा मजा आ रहा था, और वो असल में इस जंजाल में फंसी हुई आकर के, इसलिए मैं दुखी हो रहा हूँ कि कहीं ये उसका तो स्वप्न नहीं है। तो मैं इस चीज को असल में शंकराचार्य से इसलिए कनेक्ट कर रहा हूँ कि योग निद्रा के दौरान जैसे हमारे स्वप्न में हम रहते हैं तो हमारे इमोशंस जो हैं वो एज इट इज काम कर रहे होते हैं। हमें अगर कोई सुई चुभे तो उतना ही दर्द होता है, उतनी तकलीफ होती है। हमारे सेंसेस एकदम परफेक्ट काम कर रहे होते हैं, कोई भी फर्क नहीं होता हमारे जागने और सोने में, कुछ फर्क नहीं होता अगर हम सपने देख रहे होते हैं। इसीलिए बहुत बार ये कहा भी जाता है कि अगर आप एक्सरसाइजेस नहीं कर सकते हो, आपकी शारीरिक रूप से बहुत थकान है, तो आपको कुछ नहीं करना, योग निद्रा में जाओ और वहां पे आपको कोई डायरेक्शन दे रहा हो, या आप खुद सोच रहे हो कि मैं एक्सरसाइज कर रहा हूँ, मैं पहाड़ चढ़ रहा हूँ। अगर हम नींद में पहाड़ चढ़ रहे होते हैं तो हम उतने ही थकते हैं जितना बाहर में थक रहे होते हैं। हमें पसीना भी आता है, डर भय सब कुछ, प्रेम वगैरह सब आता है। तो योग निद्रा को असल में मैं जिस तरह लेता हूँ, ये हिप्नोसिस है। और मैक्सिमम टाइम आप इसे पर्सनली एक्चुअली नहीं कर सकते, करेंगे तो आपको बहुत ऊंचे लेवल पे जाके किसी एक चीज को, जैसे स्वप्न और जीवन के बारे में मैंने कहा, वो आपको एक माला की तरफ फेरते हुए लगातार रट के रखना पड़ेगा। इस बारे में भी ने ओशो ने भी इस बारे में कहा है कि आप अगर जीवन में दिन भर सोचते रहें कि ये स्वप्न है, स्वप्न है, स्वप्न है, तो आप नींद के दौरान नींद में भी कह पाएंगे कि ये स्वप्न है। अदरवाइज स्वप्न के दौरान आप कभी नहीं समझते कि आप स्वप्न में हैं। फिर उसके अगले स्टेप में वही कहते हैं कि जब सुषुप्ति अवस्था में जाते हैं, वहां पर भी जब आप ये समझ पाएंगे कि दरअसल ये जबकि स्वप्न भी नहीं होता और जीवन भी नहीं होता, तब भी जब आप अपने आप को देख पाएंगे, जिसको कि साक्षी भाव आमतौर पे हम सब कहते रहते हैं, जब आप अपने आप को देख पाएंगे कि आप इस स्थिति में हैं, तो आप असल में वो तुरीय अवस्था को समझ पाएंगे, ऐसा वाला। हालांकि ये मतलब ज्यादा डेप्थ वाली बात है, पर आम धारणा में योग निद्रा जो है, जैसे ही आप किसी के भी डायरेक्शन में करते हैं, मैं तो सजेस्ट पहले भी कर चुका हूँ कि जिसे कुछ नहीं करना, बिल्कुल थका हारा इंसान है, शरीर से ही परेशान है, बस कान में योग निद्रा के लिए ईयरफोन लगाए और आराम से सो जाए। जिसे पसंद करता हो, सत्यानंद स्वामी हैं, निरंजनानंद जी हैं, आनंद मूर्ति हैं, इन लोग के योग निद्रा, और भी लोग हैं, फॉरेनर्स हैं बहुत सारे जिन्होंने योग निद्रा को बहुत अच्छा डायरेक्ट किया हुआ है। आप जो खुद करवाते हैं, मैं पहले भी इसीलिए बोल रहा था कि आपने बहुत अच्छा कॉम्बिनेशन बना के रखा हुआ है। तो असल में हिप्नोसिस जैसा है, आप जो चाहे वो अंदर में डाल सकते हैं। जब आपको संकल्प करने के लिए कहा जाता है योग निद्रा के दौरान, तो जो चीज आपके दिमाग में चल रही हो वो तो उस समय आप डालेंगे ही डालेंगे, और वो आपके लिए एकदम हिप्नोसिस में जैसे पीछे के पूर्व जन्म तक ले जाते हैं। इसके कई कार्यक्रम आ चुके हैं, टीवी पे प्रोग्राम आ चुके हैं। ठीक उसी तरह योग निद्रा पूरी तरह काम करती है। मतलब वंडरफुल चीज है, बिल्कुल। जिसको शारीरिक रूप से कुछ नहीं करना है, उसके लिए भी सब कुछ करने के लिए बहुत कमाल की चीज है। और एविडेंस तो मैं सर जो बता रहा था आपको, जो मुझे ध्यान आ रहा था, वही दो है, मैं बाकी के बारे में नहीं जानता। शायद गीता में आप बता पाएंगे, वो मैं सुनने को बेचैन हूँ आपसे।
थैंक यू
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
Very insightful, बहुत ही सुंदर, Sanjeev sir. Sanjeev sir said that Yoga Nidra is a boon for a person who cannot move physically, because he can mentally go into that state and do all the actions that he cannot do. For example, mental training is used even in stroke patients. They are brought into a deep state of relaxation and they are asked to imagine that they are moving the part of the body which they are not able to move otherwise. So I have a stroke of right side. I will actually move only the left side, but mentally I will go into such state of deep relaxation and I will imagine that I am moving both the side of my body. And that actually works. Brain's neuroplasticity becomes better. By doing that, we usually do this technique for stroke patients. So definitely people who are limited by their physical activity, they can use this technique. And what is wakefulness and what is sleep? A junction between the two. In Vijnan Bhairav Tantra also this very beautiful concept has come, where Shiva actually tells Parvati about a meditative technique where he says that become aware of that state in the junction of sleep and wakefulness. Night, when you are on the bed and you are about to go into sleep, and morning, when you wake up, when you are still half asleep and half awake, it is at these two junctions that you should search for the self. And that meditation on that particular point where day and night meet or sleep and wakefulness meet has a window for you to escape into the transcendental aspect of your being. Yes, very beautiful. Let us hear from Preeti ji and then Radharani ji and then Raghunath ji.
So, thank you very much for a very insightful discussion. I'm be very frank. I really don't know much about yogic scriptures because I'm not read. But what I can say is that in the Western science, we use progressive muscle relaxation, Jacobson's progressive muscle relaxation, which is very, very similar to the modified yogic nidra, which we do. And it is backed by a lot of science. It increases the parasympathetic tone of the body, and it is also a very, very powerful and effective relaxation exercise, especially for those who have anxiety disorders. So even in
Yes.
clinical practice, I find it extremely useful. And even the adolescents, they are not very people who will be very calm for some time. Even when I tell them and do them in clinical practice in my clinic, they really love it. And I've seen many of them really enjoying this process as I keep on kind of in various sessions, as I see them once a month or once in 2 weeks. When I make them do it in the clinic, they kind of imbibe it very well. And they have given me a feedback saying they found it very relaxing. Not all of them, but yes, many of them, I would say. But I never force them to do it. I often, just offer it. And I say, you try it and see how you feel. So I know there is a science to it also, which Dr. Gandhi sir has already said. So I just thought I'll share this with you.
Yes, thank you, Preeti ji. Preeti ji actually sees the adolescents in her clinic. She's a pediatrician, and she says that she has found this very, very useful, and she's actually using this in her clinical practice. So, thank you, Preeti ji, for sharing your experience. Rani ji.
I agree with Preeti ji, madam, because I used to apply for my clients, my yoga clients, and in my practice also to my psychological patients, and as well
Yes.
as I will tell them my own experience because it has helped a lot to my parents because I used to do them every day.
Oh,
So helped, yeah, because some all yoga, I mean, they cannot do all this thing yoga, but they can used to do yoga nidra. It used to help them a lot of relaxation because they're mentally they are very much calmed down. If any, my father is a little bit sometimes aggressive, but after doing this, he got the paralysis stroke. Regularly by doing
oh,
it, he became very calm to him. So it helps a lot. And as well in my personal experience also, when we do Yoga Nidra, sir, we have lot of aware of body functions, what is going inside. Body, generally we don't know what's happening in the stomach, what is happening in our mouth or wherever. But when you do Yoga Nidra, that a subtle experience, that a subtle functions we can observe. Exactly what is when we the muscles, no, we can go through that functionality, and each part will get the relaxed, and we have the intense of observation. We don't get distracted. If anything is outside also, we don't get distracted because we are tightening the muscles and we are going through the function, how it works inside. And apart from that, it reminds, because in your Yoga Nidra, see, the body is just a vehicle. Nothing is attached to me. Nothing is mine in this. I'm just only a consciousness. So not
Correct.
my emotion, my body is not mine. We are only this conscious. We are the little part came in this universe. And then it helps me to think more about inner self. If we have gone through every day subtle disturbance, every day, all will be relaxed when you do Yoga Nidra, sir. But the previous day disturbance, everything will be relaxed. Again, it will help to think more about our inner self, our
Correct.
consciousness. Exactly. This is my personal experience, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Radharani ji. Raghunath ji, you wanted to say something, share something?
Simply, sir, so far as my experience is concerned, it gives me more of body awareness for me, sir, because you take me right from tip of my toe to the top of my head. And so it gives me a lot of body awareness for me.
Yes.
And in the process, my concentration, everybody, it actually rotates from top to bottom or from bottom to top. And thirdly, there is that breath control, what you have got, that breath awareness. These are the matters what I actually understood so far as this particular Yoga Nidra is concerned.
Yes. Raghunath ji emphasizes the point that the practice of Yoga Nidra gave him more awareness of his body, which is also a very, very important concept. So first, most important thing that we have to realize is that Yoga Nidra makes us aware of not only the body, but all the 5 layers of existence very systematically. In Yoga Nidra, you start with the body, then you go to the breath, then you go into your mind. When you reach that state of relaxation at the level of the mind, after that you start expanding and start touching the aspect of Vijnana, and then towards the end, you merge with the bliss, infinite expansion and silence, that is the Anandamaya Kosha. And between the junction of Manomaya and Vijnanamaya Kosha, you have that I-ness. That I-ness is dissolved by saying, I am not the body, I do nothing, I want nothing. And after dissolution of the I, the Vijnana Anandamaya Kosha manifest. So, when we do the practice, we are not aware of it, but very systematically, actually, Yoga Nidra takes us through the 5 layers of existence. And therefore, this practice should always be done in this flow. You should always begin with the body. Of course, in the original Yoga Nidra text, directly Shavasana is given and the person becomes aware of the body. But here, to intensify, because the mind is so much cluttered with thoughts, it is important that we tighten each part of the body and then relax them. This is based on another yogic text, Mandukya Karika, which says that a relaxation which is followed by stimulation and then another relaxation, that takes you to a deeper level of relaxation than only the relaxation itself from the beginning. So that is why we stimulate it a bit by tightening the body parts and then going into the relaxation at the bodily level. And then we further move from kosha to kosha. So this is one important aspect. Second, we also see in the classical texts, the word Yoga Nidra, has not come in the sense that we use it in today's time. In Puranas, we see this particular text being written, this word being written as primarily Vishnu's divine cosmic sleep. So Lord Vishnu sleeps on the Adishesha in the cosmic waters in between the creations. That is how the Puranas mention. It is in Bhagavad Puran, we see this between dissolution and creation of the universe, Lord Vishnu's yogic sleep. In Markandeya Puran, actually, goddess Yoga Nidra is being recognized and also called as Yoga Maya, and who induces Vishnu to sleep. In Vishnu Puran and Padma Puran, Srishti Khand also similar kind of reference comes. It is Vishnu's rest on cosmic ocean on the Adishesha, the cosmic serpent. The modern systematic explanation where the relaxation component is added into it was developed in 20th century, mainly Satyanand Saraswati, Swami Satyanand Saraswati elaborated the concept and drawing, inspiration from these classical concepts. The idea behind this came from the classical text only, and tantric references are also there, and then some aspect of what Vijnana Bhairav Tantra Shah sir was saying, and the ideas from modern psychology has also been added to the modern Yoga Nidra practice that we have developed. Because primarily our aim now is to get into deeper states of relaxation and to overcome the sleep, the demand for sleep also. So Yoga Nidra now, if you see, it has become a point, a technique which can take a person from a state of chanchalata of the mind towards ekagrata, that is one-pointed awareness, and then from the ekagrata, it actually has a potential to bring the mind into a state where it can transcend both or all the three: wakefulness, sleep, and dream. What is the importance of this particular state? I always say that this particular state where you are neither sleeping, nor dreaming, nor awake, you are in the middle of it, that has deep healing potential. What is the importance of that? Let us see, what Bhagavad Gita has to say. Bhagavad Gita in the second chapter says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. It's a very, very beautiful shloka. It says that a yogi, remains awake in the domain where all the beings are sleeping, whereas he remains little withdrawn towards the domain of externalizing wakeful life where everybody is so intensely involved. So in a way, this particular shloka says that we can, interpret it as the yogi becomes aware of the subconscious, which generally people are not aware of, from where a particular thought comes, what is the origin of thoughts, what is the origin of a particular behavior. A yogi is always aware of it. And that is what a yogi also sees much more clearly in the state of Yoga Nidra. And whereas the act of doership and too much involvement only in the wakeful state, considering only the wakeful state as one's own personality and ignoring the other states of one's personality, which involves dream and sleep, is something which people who are not on the yogic path do. In the 6th chapter, Krishna says, Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatisthate nispraha sarva kamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tada. In fact, this beautiful shloka gives another definition of yoga. Yukta ityuchyate yada. When do you tell that a person has actually united? Word yoga comes from the dhatu yuj, or another meaning of that is yukt, which means to connect. When would you say that a person has developed that inner connect? Krishna says, when the chitta, the mind, has become steady and is directed inwards towards the self. And second, what has happened is all the desires in the heart has been let go. Nispraha sarva kamebhyaha. That is what we do in Yoga Nidra. What we do is, in the beginning, throughout the yoga practice, we make you more steady, and then we try to relax you. And after relaxation, throughout the practice, we tell you to turn your awareness inwards, withdraw your senses from outside. So we are fulfilling the first half of this shloka. And then when you get deep into that state, we tell you, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I want nothing. See, Nispraha sarva kamebhyoho. Letting go of all the desires in the heart. Once you turn inward, let go of all the desires in the heart. Then a person is said to have achieved a state of yukta, or you are actually in a state of connect or in the state of yoga. Patanjali also says yoga chitta vritti nirodhaha. A similar very beautiful sloka comes in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells further in the same line of slokas, yatra uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya. Then when chitta niruddha takes place, or when chitta vritti nirodha takes place, when does that happen? See, pramana is a chitta vritti, which is wakefulness. Vikalpa, then viparyaya and smriti, they are dream. That is also a chitta vritti. Nidra itself is a chitta vritti. Patanjali says chitta vritti nirodh. It means you are neither awake nor dreaming or going into future or past. Or third is you are not into a state of unconscious sleep also. So in a way, a state of Yoga Nidra, a state into which Yoga Nidra brings you towards the end, where you cannot say that you are completely awake, you cannot say that you are completely asleep, you are in between somewhere. That particular state of mind becomes a window for you to get into the subconscious. A very beautiful sloka comes in Mandukya Upanishad. It says that when your chitta becomes dull, stimulate it. When it becomes overtly very active, calm it down. And when it remains in the middle, you will see the deeper subconscious starts revealing to you, or you get an entry into the subconscious of your mind in that particular state of your being. And that has a lot of potential that can be harnessed towards improving your well-being. So when a yogi is able to reach that state of chitta niruddham, then the yogi is able to behold the soul through the purified mind and rejoices in the inner joy. So that has the potential to bring that transformation within you that you seek. Now, I want to tell you one very beautiful example that happens in our day-to-day life also. Say, imagine that you fulfilled all your duties, all your dharma throughout the day very honestly. You were on the side of the truth and light in your life. And at the end of the day, when you lie down on the bed, you feel some inner bliss, some blessing that the creation gives you for fulfilling all your duties. And then you have a sound sleep. You are very deeply rested. You get up in the morning. And when you get up, you feel as if in a flash, the whole night has passed and you feel very fresh. And you are sitting on the bed and you see that your mind has reached a very deep state of calmness. Your eyes are awake, but still you know that something within you is still in that deep rest. Your mind is yet not drawn by your senses outside. And you see a beautiful sunshine, rays of sun entering the room. You can very clearly see the surroundings, become aware of all the colors, vivid sounds around you. But at the same time, you are very much aware of what is going on within your mind as well. Now, this state of meditativeness with complete awareness is very unique to yoga. Generally, people said that in EEG, if the beta waves come up, you are aware, you are alert, your eyes are open, you are doing activity, Whereas when you are getting into sleep, more of transition goes, towards the theta waves, you are going deeper into that. But then a state where both the things can happen simultaneously, where you are aware also, but at the same time, you are relaxed also. Generally, sympathetic nervous system makes you hyper alert, fight or flight reaction, or parasympathetic makes you go into sleep. But is it possible that both the system come in a sync together? Where the background is in parasympathetic dominance and the superficial is in sympathetic activity, because sympathetic activity improves your cognitive functions and makes you very much alert and productive, whereas parasympathetic keeps you relaxed in the background. That is what Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita in another sloka. Yogasthaha kuru karmani. First establish yourself in yoga and then do all your activities. So this is the overall idea. In fact, what I would say is Yoga Nidra is actually the technique which makes you reach the state of what yoga is, according to Patanjali and Krishna. And yoga, according to them, is transcending sleep, wakefulness, and dream. Mandukya Upanishad very beautifully puts this together. Among all the Upanishads, this is the shortest one and the gem, the topmost among all the Upanishads. Why? Because it hits the real essence of this yogic knowledge. It says, A is the sound of wakefulness, U is the sound of dream, and Ma is the sound of sleep. And when all these three sounds come together, it makes Om, and Om is the source of creation. When people are only drawn towards wakefulness, they get hyperactive, impulsive, and develop that kind of problems in their mind. Whereas if one is too much withdrawn, then they become amotivated, socially withdrawn, or get too much into imagination and dream, then lose touch with reality and develop psychotic issues. So externalizing, internalizing, or psychotic are three domains in which the mental problems develop in psychiatry. All the psychiatric problems are divided into three categories: externalizing disorders, internalizing disorders, psychotic disorders. And they are the disorders because the consciousness is not able to balance itself between A, U, and Ma. But Yoga Nidra does that. Yoga Nidra brings that metacognitive awareness of all the three to you. And that is what yoga is in its essence. No? So that is the understanding that we develop from these traditional texts. And of course, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, when it tells about pratyahar, he says, Swa Vishaya Asamprayoge. All the sense organs are always directed towards the object. That is the only purpose they have. But not allowing them to fulfill that purpose. And then turning them inwards. Chitta, merging your senses into the chitta. And then chitta towards the self. That is the journey, the inward journey that you take. So as if the sense organ take the shape of the chitta, it means that you are involuting yourself. That is known as pratyahara. Whatever ahara or the food that the senses draw from the object, they start deriving that from the self, from within. My senses draw their fulfillment from within me. That is known as pratyahara. And that is the essence of Yoga Nidra. That is the essence of Yoga Nidra. That's why this is the concept in Patanjali Yoga Sutra that tells us about getting into a state of Yoga Nidra. And how about samskara? What does Patanjali say? Patanjali says that actually in Yoga Nidra, from multiple thought of multiple objects, you first come onto your body. Then from the body, you come onto the breath. From multiple thought, you come to a multiple object to single object. From single object to a single thought, again and again, bringing your mind to a single thought where you can use various kind of reading scripture, doing japa, or various kind of activity. In fact, japa actually plays a very, very important role in when you get into a state of Yoga Nidra and you want to tackle your samskaras, then people use the tool of mantra. And then by continued practice of this mantra, the japa that takes place, you reach a state from japa to ajapa. What does that mean? You start doing japa consciously, but in the Yoga Nidra, the japa starts happening on its own. It is as if the Om is going on by itself and you are just an observer. So initially it begins with your effort, but then with practice and going into deeper states, the Om can continue on its own into your being. When that happens, then the samskaras can be cleansed or completely changed. So from the dharana state, one gets into a state of dhyana. Mind becomes very slow, breath becomes slow and superficial, and it is difficult to make out whether the person is inhaling or exhaling in deep state of Yoga Nidra. With further slowing down, a moment comes when mind starts flowing spontaneously toward the object of concentration. The breath pauses as soon as we tell, drop the center, drop the periphery. You may feel that the breath almost comes to a pause. Then you have come into a state of dhyana. So Patanjali in the 3rd chapter talks about this. He says that samadhi parinama, the transformation of the chitta that takes place when you get into a state of trance at the end of Yoga Nidra, this happens when multifaceted modification of samskaras becomes subdued by only one pointed rise of a single samskara in chitta, which is of the meditative or the mantra japa state. And then tajjah samskarayo anya samskara pratibandhi. The impression that you induce by Yoga Nidra, the sankalpa that you put at the end of Yoga Nidra, obstructs all other impressions or samskaras that are there. So here you take charge of your subconscious mind, you can clean it, you can put the thoughts which are not there. For example, if somebody has very low self-esteem, you can get him into a state of Yoga Nidra and put a positive thought that I am capable of doing this. And you will see that starts manifesting into his personality. His self-esteem starts improving. I am healthy, happy, and satisfied. In fact, the very essence of our Swarupa is that we are existence, awareness, and bliss, untouched by the sufferings of the body and mind. That is what we use as sankalpa in the practice of Yoga Nidra that we teach. So that is why, but this is a very delicate practice. You should not take it very lightly. It is always, recommended that you do this practice only from a very authentic source. Otherwise, it is like a double-edged sword. It can also harm you, by putting some negative things into your subconscious mind. Therefore, you have to be very, very careful and follow systematically. Do not try to do it in a state when you are very much agitated. First, try to reach a very calm, relaxed state and then do the practice. Now, looking at the scientific studies on Yoga Nidra, this particular study in 2020 actually was done in Germany. You know how thoroughly German people do research, and they did it on a very large sample size of 771 participants and found that improvement in reduction in stress, improvement in well-being, and sleep quality after 30-day intervention of even a shorter version of Yoga Nidra, which was only a 11-minute practice. Similarly, another randomized control trial done in India in females experiencing menstrual difficulties. They wanted to see whether Yoga Nidra improves their psychological general well-being, and it was a controlled randomized trial, and they observed that anxiety, depression, and well-being, all three improved better in women who were doing this practice consistently. All these trials have shown the effect within 4 to 8 weeks, but there are studies which have shown single session of Yoga Nidra to be effective in reducing stress levels. Here in this particular study, especially, Preeti ji was talking about adolescent. This particular trial actually looked at 60 adolescents between the age of 13 to 15 years, twice a week Yoga Nidra for 3 months. Participants showed improved well-being parameter, better emotional regulation. Now at this teenage, emotion regulation becomes the most important thing, and people also observed an improved academic performance as well. In fact, if you do Yoga Nidra and put a positive sankalpa that I am going to concentrate on my study and I am going to understand everything that I am going to read, you will see a sudden change in the way that you perceive things and the way you study. So a brief Yoga Nidra is a very good thing for students to begin their day or to begin their studies. Then this Parker et al. Actually summarized all the review papers that have looked at the neurobiological effects of Yoga Nidra versus sleep versus traditional meditative techniques. I have actually summarized all their findings in a table for you. This is a very, very beautiful table, scientifically based on the review of literature. first EEG pattern. In sleep, we see from alpha to theta to delta. This is the usual progression from superficial to deeper states of sleep. But in Yoga Nidra, what happens? Alpha and theta activity happens simultaneously. That is what I am saying. When you are in a state of half asleep, half awake, you create a window. That window doesn't create when you are fully out. That window doesn't create when you are fully in and shut in sleep. You have to remain in between. Sakashayam vijaniyat samapraptam na chalayet. That state of equilibrium, yogastaha and kuru karmani. That is what Bhagavad Gita also says. Here is a window for transformation. Whereas in meditative states, it is predominantly alpha waves, specifically if the meditation is more of a focused attention kind. And gamma waves also often present in experienced practitioner, but not in beginners. Then what happens to the level of awareness? Conscious awareness is lost in sleep, whereas witness consciousness, which is a very unique state of consciousness that comes in Yoga Nidra, whereas in traditional meditation technique where you observe your breath or focus on a mantra, there is an active awareness. I'm not saying that traditional meditation is bad. It is just that what you want to achieve, for example, if people are not able to sit with your back and neck erect for a long time, then Yoga Nidra gives you a choice. You can do it in a lying down position. Whereas other traditional technique requires samam kaya shiro grivam, so that requirement is not there in Yoga Nidra. Specifically for elderly population, this is a very beautiful technique. Autonomic function, we see passive parasympathetic dominance. Here there is active parasympathetic dominance. This is beautiful. Parasympathetic dominance is generally considered very passive. But is it possible that I actively get into a parasympathetic dominant state where I am alert, aware, cognitively very sharp, but at the same time my heart rate variability parameters and other parameters show that I am in a deep state of relaxation? That is something we are all seeking in our day-to-day life to become more efficient in what we do. In meditation also, a balanced autonomic activity is observed, but here the breath plays a very, very important role. The mental content, if you see, dreams come during the REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, whereas in Yoga Nidra, there is always a guided awareness and systematic rotation of consciousness. One is gradually developing a mastery over the process of where the awareness of the mind goes. That happens in Yoga Nidra, whereas in traditional meditation, one develops the capability of dharana and over a period of time slowly takes it towards dhyana. In duration, we see the REM cycle and the non-REM sleep keeps rotating, whereas throughout the practice of Yoga Nidra, you remain in a hypnagogic-like state, where you are neither awake nor asleep, but you can continue it for a longer and longer duration. This is usually, our brain is not programmed for that. Generally, the programming is either to go into sleep or remain completely out, but then this is a yogic techniques to bring voluntary control over the involuntary phenomena of the subconscious mind. In the same way, through kriyas, yogis try to develop voluntary control over the involuntary activities of the body like heart rate, blood pressure, several reflex actions. So yoga is in a way a journey where the human consciousness says that I do not want anything within me to be not known to me and I want to become aware of everything. Using the 100% of my brain's capacity. Similarly, in metabolic activity, we see that selective metabolic decreases with maintained activity in awareness networks. In the brain also, there are resting brain networks and there are event-related active brain networks. We see that in a state of Yoga Nidra, both these kind of neural networks function in a sync. Otherwise, what happens is that our default mode network starts interfering with our active task-related networks. And when we are trying to relax, the task-related network enter into the default mode network. In Yoga Nidra, both the systems come in a sync with each other and do not interfere with each other, making the person more efficient in his activity. In memory formation, we see that memory consolidation actually takes place during sleep. And this memory restoration, while maintaining alertness, can happen during the state of Yoga Nidra. The guided entry with maintained receptivity to instruction is the key here because you are being guided and there is a voice which is helping you navigate through it, and therefore the phenomena doesn't go completely out of control. Whereas in sleep, in dream, everything goes completely out of control. In traditional meditative methods, you see that there is a goal with which you are meditating, and there is an active mind engagement there, and that has its own benefits. But I believe that the practice of Yoga Nidra is a very delicate practice, but can give you an access to a very deeper aspect of your being. So this is what I wanted to share with all of you today on the subject of Yoga Nidra. And I request all of you to make this wonderful, wonderful yogic technique a part of your daily routine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you. Yes, Surya has asked that should I put a positive statement into the mind? Actually, in the process of what modified Yoga Nidra we take, we already do that. The best thing to put into the mind in such state is that I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am beyond, and I am into my own Swarupa. That covers all the aspect of positivity and well-being that is there. But if you feel that you have any specific issue that you want to address, or you want any positive, so there should be a very short positive statement. It should never be negative, that I am not doing this, or I'm fighting with my anxiety, or I'm not depressed. It should not be like that. It should be, I am confident, I am happy, I am satisfied. That kind of sankalpa should be taken. Sankalpa should always be positive. It should be short and impactful. So you can take your own sankalpa at this stage where you are completely expanded and deeply relaxed. After we chant this Purnamadah Purnamidam, after that you can put up a sankalpa into your mind, whichever that you think, in a short positive statement. Okay.